Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. How are you?
Oh, good. How about yourself?
I'm good. I'm good. It's a nice day in North Carolina here.
Yes, it is a nice day in North Carolina. May I ask you please to tell us your name?
My name is Sahar Rimawi. But when I came to North Carolina, I kept writing Sarah, and people kept writing Seher. So maybe they thought I have dyslexia or something. So now I go by Sarah.
Sarah.
My daughter name is Sarah too.
Ah, excellent. And
Like same letters in the same names.
do you have trouble with people mispronouncing your name even with it showing Sarah?
Well, showing Sarah, no problem, but our last name is Rimawi. And that's what a lot of people, like, they say everything else other than Rimawi. So I go by like, okay, can you say Maui? It's Maui. And I remember my son when he was in first grade one time. The coach, his teacher and his coach kept like, we used to live in New Orleans.
Mhm,
We moved here after Hurricane Katrina.
mhm.
And one time I went to school to pick him up, and he had his teacher, and he was saying, "Repeat after me, re, me, we." And he was 6 years old.
Wow. Yep.
But I mispronounce people names, so it doesn't bother me because I have names like I have to be like, excuse me, how do you say that? So I think when you are younger, things bother you a lot more than when you're older.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think that name enunciation, uh, it's not necessarily just, dialect, but I mean, you get old, you forget things, you don't remember it. You see somebody, you're walking along and you see somebody, I know that person. I just can't remember
Exactly.
their name. So you fake it until they say their name or something, so you get like, okay.
True, because when I was, I'm from Palestine.
Mhm,
I met my husband over there and they moved here in 1993. I came into Houston. We lived a couple of years in Houston.
mhm,
Then we moved to New Orleans, lived there about 14, 15 years.
mhm.
And then after Hurricane Katrina, we moved to North Carolina. So it's been like, I moved around. And after the hurricane, we evacuated upstate in New York. My brother-in-law lived upstate in New York. We lived there from maybe August till after Thanksgiving. Then we went back to New Orleans. So it's been a journey. I have three different kids and three kids, and each one born in a different state.
Well, at least they know they're in the United States. So
Exactly.
tell me, out of New Orleans, North Carolina, Houston, and New York, which one did you like best?
New Orleans. I lived a lot in New Orleans. I think here it's a smaller community. Like, here I live in a little town called Welcome, which is people from North Carolina don't know where Welcome is.
I don't know where that is.
We are very close to Winston-Salem. We are like 15
Okay.
minutes from Winston-Salem. But we moved here after Hurricane Katrina. So we've been here about 14 years now. It's a small community, about 3,000 people. When you are the brown people, the brown one in the whole community, that everybody's white, so you run to why you are here.
Mhm.
And you run to a lot of people they are not used to have more, they're not as open.
Yeah.
Like in New Orleans, my son, they went to a couple of years to a public school and a couple of years to a Catholic school. In New Orleans, each time the school principal used to talk to the parents. He used to say, "We are a melting pot. We are a melting pot. We are a melting pot." You don't hear that language when you go to small communities because they are not a melting pot.
That's absolutely correct. I lived
Like,
in my daughter and I lived in Shelton, Connecticut in the late 80s. And Shelton is kind of up. It's not far from some of the other more populous areas, but it's a little small town. Most people who live there are very affluent, but the Grand Wizard of the Ku Klux Klan lived in Shelton. And my daughter and I were the only Black or brown people in the area. And I remember the first time we went to a grocery store, this little boy, he's holding his mother's hand. He looks back at us and he's staring at us for a long time. And he says, "Mom, can I touch it? Is it real?" And I'm sitting here thinking, I live in America. What is this? So I actually absolutely feel your pain. I know exactly what that's like, but I will tell you one thing, that it takes courage to do that.
Oh,
It
yeah,
takes courage. And if you're strong enough to do it and you overcome it, no matter what else you face, you'll be able to beat that back down as opposed to,
definitely,
yeah.
definitely. Because when I first moved here, I ran to few stores, many, but like we went to the grocery store. And I went to the grocery store, I bought few things, I gave her cash. So when she gave me my change back, she said, open your hand. I did. She goes, this is a dime, this is a quarter, this is a nickel.
Woo!
I said, thank you, ma'am. I moved out. I mean, because I am a very optimistic person.
Mhm.
And I know probably she meant good. She meant that she was helping me to distinguish the nickel from the quarter from the penny. You know?
Crazy. Woo! That's crazy.
Thank you. Thank you. I moved on. I ran to another story when we were here the first week. I went to get our mail from, it's we live in almost 1.5 acres. So homes are not very close, but we live in a cul-de-sac. So you have like maybe 4 or 5 homes on the cul-de-sac. I went to get the mail, and my neighbor had a dog, and the dog came to me, and I said, hey, and she, I said hey to the dog, and she called her dog, and she said, come back here, they are not like us. I
No,
didn't,
she didn't say that. Oh my God.
I didn't comment. I went back, got in
Terrible.
here, and I told my husband, I said, do I have 4 ears? Do I have a horn coming up from my head? I mean, not like us. What did that mean? So it was tough to survive. I think like even for my kids in the school, I mean, you have the good, you have the open-minded, you have the caring, you have the people who, like, they kept telling me, well, you're here. You are here to take jobs from us. Your job, somebody else can have. I mean, you need to have a lot of courage. You have to have a thick skin for you to survive.
Yep.
And it's definitely not easy. But after that incident, after that, like, I kept, hi, how are you? We don't see each other a lot. But she switched 180 degrees. I mean, she was very, very nice after that. Um, one Valentine, she brought us cupcakes. And when my kids went to school, when my daughter went to school, she went to Duke, she brought us one time a flag and saying congratulations. So people change, but it takes a lot of time to
Yeah.
kind of tell them, I am just like you. You know,
Absolutely.
there is nothing wrong with a different color of religion or skin. And also, when we move, a lot of people knock on our door to go to their church. Well, we don't go to church. I don't go to mosque also. We're Muslims, but we don't go. I am a very spiritual human being. And that also was a challenge.
Yes. I can't imagine. So I want to go back to New Orleans, but I want to ask you a question while we're traveling down this path of diversity. Where were you when September 9/11
Actually,
happened?
I was overseas because my mom had breast cancer and she was sick.
Hmm.
And we went there, we lived about maybe a year.
Hmm.
So when it happened, I was there and I can tell you exactly what happened. I was in the kitchen and the TV was on BBC.
Hmm.
And my husband was talking to one of his cousins and playing chess online. So I came out of the kitchen to check on the kids and I saw the news and I saw the first airplane hit. And I told my husband, I said, oh my God, I can't believe this. This happened. He said, no, 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 that's probably just like a game or they're showing something. It can't be. I mean, it was unbelievable. Nobody could believe what happened. So, and then a few minutes later, the second, and that's what got his attention. I said, oh my God, the second plane hit. I mean, this is for real.
Hmm.
And it was just devastating to see that. I mean, it really
Absolutely.
was. Yeah, I mean, any life loss anywhere in this world, it's very sad and devastating.
Yeah.
And there is nothing can justify that.
Yeah. The reason why I asked the question is I was just thinking, a lot of narrow-minded people develop some very negative attitudes and relationships with people that were not, um, I don't even know what the right word is, but who they presume to be conspirators, like the people who flew the planes into the
Yeah,
building.
yeah,
You know, we were on a plane somewhere, and there was a person who you could have, I mean, they were, kind of brown, but brown what, right? And so people were, making comments as they're walking by him, don't think you're going to blow this plane up, you're going to hijack this plane. And the little fellow looked like he was just as innocent as the day is long, but somehow or another, the way he looked generated that response, and I think we've made a lot of progress. We moved away from that, we've gotten so, and then we elect the current person in the White House, and they put a ban on Muslims, because all of them are terrorists. And I hate superlatives. What do you mean all? All what? All men, all women, all short, all tall, all fat, all what? You can't use superlatives to describe human beings.
You can't label nations. Like you can't have a stamp and a stamp, all of them are good or all of them are bad, because you're gonna find good and bad everywhere. But I can tell you that my son, when he was in high school, middle school, high school, a lot of people called him Osama bin Laden, a lot of people called him a terrorist. And I told him one time when he mentioned it the first time, I said, you want me to go to the school and talk to them? And he said, no, mom, it's not a big deal. What he used to say, sticks and bones can
Sticks and
hurt me.
stones may break my bones, but words will never harm me. That's not true.
That's not true, because down the road, I found out that it really did.
Yeah.
And he won't let me go. And the other time, we fast in Ramadan. I mean, the only thing I do, just we fast in Ramadan. And he was fasting. And he said, the social worker in the school, and my kids are not underfed, they are not skinny by any means.
Right, right.
They don't look sick. The social worker took him from the class for, he said, about almost an hour. He missed his class, and she was trying to kind of know why he's not eating his lunch.
Mm.
She didn't try to reach out to me. She didn't try to understand that, he told her it's Ramadan. She didn't try to go on Google, see what it is. She didn't try to do anything. I told him, I said, would you like me to go talk to her? He said, no, I'm good. I told her, and they are actually, were a little bit overweight, all of them in the school. But the difference is when I lived in New Orleans, my kids went to a Catholic school. Mm-hmm. I come from a neighborhood, it was a mixed Catholic and Muslims, and nobody ever asked you. I mean, we celebrated each other holidays. And overseas, you make those date cookies, whether it's a Muslim holiday or a Christian holiday. My best friends, which is like sisters to me, are Catholic. So we never really distinguish, But it was funny because when my daughter went to the Catholic school, she was in 5th grade, and I fasted. She said she wanted to fast. I said, no, you're still too young. And then I said, okay, you can eat a breakfast, fast half day, like don't eat lunch in the school and you eat dinner home, and we will consider this fasting. Well, she did. She didn't eat lunch that day, but what happened is nobody questions her. Mm-hmm. Nobody took her to a room for an hour to discuss things. Around 6:30 p.m., my phone rang, and it was her teacher, her homeroom teacher, and she said, I just want to see why she didn't eat lunch today. She told me she's fasting. I didn't try to ask her in front of the kids or anything. I thought I'll call you because she was worried. She's trying not to eat to lose weight or something, But I thought that was a really, really nice gesture of her, because she did not try to embarrass the kid or anything, She tried to understand, and she communicated with me. So, and I thought that was very, very, very nice of her. I mean, I don't care what is your religion, what is your color, believe or you don't believe, that's for you,
Yep. And it's what's really unfortunate about that is that what you're describing is not an exception. That happens a lot to people, especially Black and brown populations. And, as much as we talk about diversity, we do a good job of talking about it. We talk about it every day. Yesterday was MLK Day. We're supposed to have a day of reflection, but it is still by the color of our skin that we are judged. It is by, the things that we have least control over, our gender, our, sexual orientation. Why do these things matter at all? Because in essence, the baby that's in the womb doesn't have an application to fill out and say, well, I want to be a boy, or I want to be a blonde boy, I want to be a brown-haired boy. That we use these constructs that are almost nebulous to the point where what difference do they make? Because if you see, It's really amazing about this. I'll tell you a little story. Told the story a few times already. When I worked at the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill, my office was just underneath the medical examiner's office, the state medical examiner's office. And wonderful man, wonderful sense of humor. And he was always calling me up there. And you go up there, and before you get in your office, you hear a chainsaw or something going off. You're like, okay, I'm not going in there. So, he knew I was never. He had to really have a computer problem for me to go there. So he said to me, Rochelle, I just want to show you one thing. Come up. I'm like, okay, please God, don't let this man show me he's doing something, somebody, and he brings me into this room. It's a body laying on a metal table and it's covered with a white sheet. I'm like, okay, let's see what we get ready to see here, and slowly he pulled it back from the feet, and her feet were blacker than the shirt I have on. Pulled it back, kept going. She was still black. And he gets right about here and he stops. And you could see streams of blonde hair still attached to her skin. And he said, this is what happens to people when they die and their bodies aren't preserved. The discoloration, the blood burning, if you will, turns black and turns the skin black. And in a lot of ways, it was really a kind of eye-opening thing for me to hear, because we make so much out of our skin tone, our skin complexions. There was a movie out of, it's been at least 10-15 years, ¿Qué es color es abuelo? What color is your grandmother? These questions that put so much power and emphasis on skin, where it's I don't look anything like I looked when I was 20. I changed. My complexion has changed. My face structure has changed. But somehow or another, this means something to someone else, that my skin is this color, or that my lips are this thick, or my nose is this wide, or my ears are this small, that I am something. Why am I not just a human being?
That's exactly what I keep saying. I am saying, I know what I keep saying is, we are on the same earth, we are under the same sun, we drink the same water, we have the same enemies and the same friends. Your enemies are poverty, illnesses, illiterate, people, or those are the enemies for human beings. If we respect each other and we are fair to each other, beyond the skin color and the religion and the sex orientation, we will be far better than when we are now. We will be. My grandma used to say, when somebody talked to her and he kind of snapped, or, she used to say, if people knew that they will end up a meal for the earthworms, they will never act like that.
Right.
Because we go, become the same way, we go the same way. Every mother on this world wants her kids happy and successful, and they want them to come home safe.
Absolutely.
And there is no mother out there, and it doesn't matter her color or religion, does not share the same fear for her kids,
Absolutely. So,
So,
can we talk about New Orleans a little bit?
sure, I love New Orleans.
Yes. We were just there 2019. We haven't been, well, we've been home ever since then. But so you were there when Katrina hit.
Yes.
Where did you live in relation to where it hit?
I lived in Metairie, New Orleans. And we have a big family actually there, because my husband, cousins, and uncles, and I had a brother-in-law and a sister-in-law. We lived like big family there. We evacuated one time for Hurricane George before Katrina. We went to Houston,
Mhm.
and it took us like 2 days to get there. And my husband said we're never evacuating again. So what happened is, each time we have a hurricane, we used to go to a hotel, because we were worried we lose electricity, we don't have water.
Yeah.
So we'll go to a hotel, stay there overnight, and that's it. The funny thing is, when we moved, my husband's cousin came to visit, and he said, we are like, 10, 12 feet below sea level, or 8 feet below sea level. And I looked at my husband, I'm like, what are we doing? It's a fishbowl, But for Hurricane Katrina, the funny thing is, we did actually have booked a room in a hotel, because my husband said he doesn't want to evacuate. And we had only one car. My youngest son was 3 years old. And I told him we need to evacuate. I had a dream that you're gonna flood. We need to evacuate. I had a dream that the street in front of my house turned to a river, and I had two old folks living across the street. And I told them in my dream, they were telling me I can walk, the water will be until my knees. And I kept screaming, I can't swim, I can't swim.
Mhm.
And he said, if you want to evacuate, you can take the car and the kids and go. Because I told him, I said, this is a 3 years old kid. If something happened to one of the kids, I will never forgive you.
Yes,
I
the
said,
mother's threat.
you know, if something happened to them, I'll never forgive you because you are the one who doesn't want to leave, you know. And I said, if we lose electricity, you know, the pump workers can't, you know, they moved the pump workers to Arkansas, you know.
Mhm.
So the water start filling in. And around noon, we were watching the news. I was ironing some shirts and we just had, you know, brunch. And I was ready. We were planning to go to the hotel room around like 5 p.m. because they said the hurricane will hit after midnight.
Mhm.
So, you know, it was on the news. And then suddenly they were saying on the news that you have 2 hours to leave if you want to leave. After that, we will shut the highway. And if
Mm.
you want to leave, go toward Mississippi, not to Houston, because it was blocked. So this man come running in and goes, we need to leave now. Now? He said, yeah, now. So because he said they're gonna they close the freeway. Well, I didn't pack anything because the plan was to go one night, you know, come back home.
Yeah.
I throw a couple of things for the kids in the bag, a little bag, and you know, we got in the car and I called my sister-in-law and she said, I was about to call you, we are on the road. I said, we are too, because they weren't planning to leave either. And I said, we're going toward Mississippi. And she said, okay, we'll follow you and we will meet somewhere. It was horrible. It was
Amen.
horrible. I mean, I thought that the hurricane will hit us on top of Pontchartrain Lake because it was, I mean, it was just bumper to bumper traffic. To go to Mississippi, like a 4 hour drive, took us more than 12 hours. We were on top of the lake, and you can see the waves now. When the waves are coming, I mean, which is usually there is no waves in the lake, but you know, with the wind moving the water, you can see the water on the freeway. I told my husband, I said, and instead of the hurricane catch us in the house, we will catch us here. We will be on this, we're not moving. And people from Mississippi were leaving. So it was, I mean, it was rough. But finally, after I guess 12, and we couldn't find hotels. Every hotel room was booked. So after about a 12-hour drive, we got somewhere. And I said, do you have a room? And the guy said, the only room we have, it's smoking. I said, I don't care, smoking or not smoking. I don't care if I can, you know, be in the lobby. We need to get out. I mean, we need a room. We need to get out of the car and find a place. So he was able to find us two rooms, thankfully, one for us and one for my brother-in-law and sister-in-law. Um, there was a point where I had to use the bathroom. I couldn't use, but people were getting out of their cars, using the bathroom next to their cars because there's no place to go. I'm sorry. I told my husband, I said, I can't, do that. There was an exit, closed exit. I said, just take it. He said, it's closed. I said, I don't care, just take it. We need to find the gas station or something. It was really, really rough. I mean, I felt so bad for the town. The town after that was very, very sad. We did not have the 12 and 10 feet of water that happened in the lower ninth. We had rainwater, and the rainwater was, I think, up to a couple of feet. I mean, when we went back, you can see the mark of the water. But it was just, I mean, after that, the whole town was just, and this, what happened in New Orleans was not supposed to happen.
Yeah.
I mean, all those deaths of these people, I mean, all these buses sitting in water instead of moving people out. We had one whole week to prepare for that hurricane, you know. For one whole week, they were saying it's coming toward us, it's coming toward us. And nobody, I think, I have no clue why nobody in a leadership position, did anything for these folks.
Yeah.
It was
Because
sad.
they were poor and black. They met all the criteria of we don't care. You're poor and black. And that's all you need to be is poor and black. And you get hit in that list. We don't care.
Yeah, those, I mean, that's the problem. The problem is the Lower Nile was completely underwater. That's the very bad areas, you know, to begin with. I mean, the very poor areas to begin with.
Yeah.
Uh, so you are taking people in a bad situation, barely can survive. Some of them probably have 2, 3 jobs. They don't have cars to get out of there. They don't have the means or the resources. And they did not do anything for them. The other thing, what broke my heart is looking at the TV, and if somebody grabbed a loaf of bread, they were saying, "Oh, these, you know, these are looters." I mean, if you have kids and you need a loaf of bread,
Right.
it's gonna go bad and it will be in the trash anyway. It will,
Right.
you know. So it was horrible.
You know, from what we saw on television, it was horrible. But my husband and I, we went to New Orleans for a conference, and you know, one of our friends, he lived there, and he took us along the entire Ninth Ward, and you could see where some houses had been completely devastated. You could see the water line, you know, like you imagine a water line 2 or 3 feet, but these things are up like near the second and third
Oh,
floor window
yeah,
where the water was there, you know, and it was just really heartbreaking to see that, you know, because it's just like, this is an American city. This is not like, you know, some third world country who doesn't have intelligence and, you know, people who know how to make things
there is
work.
also the money, yeah, true. But you know, I think what happened is there even I saw an interview one time, an old lady saying, I was born there, I want to die there, I need to stay there. They did not try to bring people back. They
Yeah.
tried to buy them out or keep them where they live when they didn't try to bring anybody back.
Yeah.
So it is, I mean, it is sad. It's really sad
It
to
really
see
is sad.
because that's home. I mean, that's home for people who were there like 80 years and 60 years and 70. It's home, you know?
Absolutely. So when you leave New Orleans, what brings you to North Carolina?
What brought me to North Carolina is my brother-in-law, he used to live upstate in New York. And one time he was driving down to New Orleans. One of his friends moved to Davie in North Carolina. He's a nurse.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, he was telling my husband, I can't deal with the snow anymore. We need to go down to somewhere in the middle. And I have a coworker moved to Davie. I went to visit. It's a very nice town. So we need, and my husband, and you know, his kids and my kids are very close in age.
Mm-hmm.
So because North Carolina, after Hurricane Katrina, we decided to move, but North Carolina was not on the list.
Mm-hmm.
So, and my husband, what he did, he went, you know, he have a computer store. He's a computer guy. He went online. He tried to look for homes in North Carolina. We tried to look. We knew we could not afford to put our kids in private schools, so we have to have like good public school system somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, we try to find something where it's a good place to raise a family. And we end up here in Welcome. And my brother-in-law did not move because he found out North Carolina won't honor his RN certificate and he have to take classes again. So he didn't even move.
Mm-hmm.
But we end up here. It was, I mean, it's not like when you go to a big city, everybody no, I mean, everybody may be introduced to different colors and nationalities and food. But here it was, I mean, I wanted to buy pita bread. I asked everybody I know, nobody even knew what pita bread is. And
Yeah.
then finally, I think we went to a mall and I saw a lady have a scarf on her head. And I told my husband, I said, oh, maybe if she know the town, maybe she will know. And I approached her and I asked where I can find a place to buy pita bread. And she gave me direction to a place. But and that's what brought us here. I mean, we weren't planning to be in North Carolina. We don't have any friends in North Carolina. We don't have any family in North Carolina. So it was out of the blue.
And do you love it now or no? You're still getting adjusting.
I really like the town. I went to school here. I went back to school. I have 2 friends that are like, you know, sisters to me.
Mm-hmm.
And they are very supportive. They say, we're your children and grandparents. It's nice and quiet, you know. I really like it. It's a very nice place to be if you can tolerate the beginning to survive. Because I took my son when he was in 5th grade, I took him to have a haircut. And he came out from the barber shop and he said, "Do you know that everybody's everybody cousin in this town?" I said, "Yes." Because
Love
what?
it.
Because the barber ended up the cousin for his teacher.
Yes, I can see that.
It's a
You know,
small
I
town.
can see that. What you've got to do now is get your North Carolina accent. So you can say, speak like we in North Carolina say. You have to make your syllables be, one word. Like instead of a dog, you have to say dog. You got to get your
Yeah.
syllables, stretch out your syllables. So that you
Yeah,
can.
I'll tell you a funny story. I went to take a class, my kids were little. So I said, okay, I need to do something from home. So I want to do some like medical billing sort of thing class.
Uh-huh.
I went to Davidson, I went online, I went to Davidson Community College to take one of these classes. They signed me up. The class ended up somewhere in Thomasville. And there was a lady sitting behind me, crying and crying that her husband took her tether box that her mom gave her when she got married. And I did not know what a tether box is. So, after a few times I asked, what a tether box? It was a potato box. But it is each country, like, Houston was different than in New Orleans, and New Orleans is different than here. Upstate in New York is different than, every little town have its own little magic and its own little, good sides and hidden treasures and blessings, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I think, Sarah, I think that, you tell a very compelling story. It's very, very heartbreaking and heartwarming at the exact same time, and I think that that's a story a lot of Black and brown people share with you, maybe different variations of it, but very much the same thing. I think what comes across in this conversation with you is how much strength and courage you have, how wise you are, and that's a blessing from on high. That's your God, our God, looking down upon you and engaging you with blessings to help you overcome your trials and tribulations. And they're probably going to be more. It's not like that. It stops. Just like you, I'm a spiritual person. I'm not a religious person. I belong to no religion. I believe in God and I believe in the universe, and I stop right there. I don't believe in too many other things after that. But
Exactly.
I think that we are endowed with certain skills to help us take care of our families, help us get through the things that are difficult to overcome, but then stay strong and stay with just enough skepticism to be skeptical, but be a positive person. And that comes across out of everything you do. And I'm very, very grateful for this time to talk to you.
Oh, thank you very much. I mean, what other choice do you have? I mean, I'm very optimistic and I tell people, I said, what other choice do you have? Either you fall down and never get up, or just you have to get up and keep going.
And keep
And
going.
I believe in getting up and keep going because if you stop, that's it.
Yeah.
So
Well, we have about 5 minutes left. I'm going to leave you the remainder of time. Anything you wish to share that we didn't talk, or anything else you want to say?
I just want to say that it is tough when you have a different color skin, and it is tough when you are a female on top of that. I think females get the short end of a stick no matter where they are. Uh, I think like, what we saw in the last 4 years, hope it's gonna take a lot of years to overcome that and change that. But everybody need to stand up and everybody need to raise his voice and everybody need to keep pushing forward. If we stop pushing forward, we will never have a future for
Absolutely.
our kids and for our grandkids, because you want to teach them to respect others, but you want to teach them not to allow people to step on their toes. You want to teach them to respect others, but at the same time to be respected too. And it's important, for the next and next and next generation to know that racism is real. We
Right.
don't want it, and I don't think it's good for the country. I think it's like a disease. And it's a fight that have to keep going on and on and on. But other than that, I think, it's tough, but you have to keep going.
Absolutely. You have to keep going, and you have to keep your head high, because I mean, if you allow the hardships to win, you don't win. So you have to keep your wits about you. So
Definitely,
thank
definitely.
you so much for chatting with me. As
You're
soon as
welcome.
the video converts, I'll send you a link. Please watch it. I think it's absolutely beautiful, though. I don't think there's anything to concern, but watch it and make sure. And I look forward to chatting with you again soon. I can't wait to hear more of these stories. It's absolutely, heartwarming and heartbreaking at the same time. So
I appreciate your time and thank you very, very much for you are doing because stories matter and stories are very important to be told and to be heard, you know. Thank
absolutely.
you.
We're all struggling with this, and that's exactly why I do this, because all the stories we hear will help make us better. We have to hear the pain, we have to hear the joys in order to appreciate what people are going through, and not just standing on some box yelling out diversity, but doing something about it. So
Definitely.
thank you
Definitely.
so much.
Thank
Uh,
you.
and I will be talking to you soon. Thank you.
Thank you. Take care. Have a
Bye
good
bye. Have a good day. Bye. I
day.
hope your day gets better.
I hope so. Take
Bye.
care.